gentlemen, we're going to start the meeting. We have a few announcements. Chief Karen Moran is on work travel. Chief Vince Thompson is on bereavement. And Chief Louise Thompson is sick. We have an update on the Nova Corridor Improvement Project on your agenda. It's going to be deferred to the September General Meeting in just tonight. It seems most of the presenters are on vacation. And at the bottom it says where the next General Meeting is September 28th. It may be moved 1 week earlier because Andy is having their open house on that night. So we begin our meetings. We want to acknowledge our community members that have recently passed. And there was quite a few this, unfortunately, from our last General Meeting. 8. So we can have a moment of silence, honor and respect. Thank you. The council agenda, the amended agenda, has to be accepted by council. Is there any objections from council members? We need somebody to move to accept the agenda. Louis and Darrell. The rules of order for the council. Meetings will start at 6 p.m. proceed to a maximum of 8 p.m., at which point the community will be asked if they choose to continue. Personal issues will not be dealt with in a public forum. Personal items can be dealt with on an individual basis with council members or by appointment to the Mohawk Government Office. If you have any questions or comments during the meeting, raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged by the chairperson, which is I. And the chairperson will keep note of that order that community members have indicated to be acknowledged. Please keep questions and comments relevant to the point of order within the agenda and be considerate of the time used. A list will be made of issues we wish to address the council. If the answer cannot be provided at this meeting, the issue will be taken back to council table for further discussion and follow-up and reported at the next general meeting. We have action item updates from the July general meeting. It's a follow-up with community member regarding special needs funding, DCSS portfolio, Chief Tim Thompson and Chief Ryan Jacobs. That's ongoing. And follow-up with community member regarding the loose dog issue on Nugget Chiefs and the Justice Portfolio, Chief Connie Lazor and Chief Louise Thompson, and that update is also ongoing. And with that, we have a presentation by Yuborwinyo. It's to honor individuals from the community on some of their outstanding deeds and acknowledgments from outside communities, government agencies, and we would like Troy Thompson to take the lead on this.
Good evening. The Mohawk Council of Wakasausquen created a book of accomplishments called Yokogwanyo to document and celebrate the many accomplishments by the people of Wakasausquen. It could be in the realm of athletics, academics, health, art, culture, etc. So far, we've honored 3 people from the community. Mr. Louis Levi Oakes, he won the Silver Congressional Medal in 2016 for his role in World War II as a code talker. We honored Nolan Terrance, who has numerous accomplishments in wrestling. Last week, we honored a young lady by the name of Lana Pike. She was honored because of her exceptional academic accomplishments, including 2015 valedictorian at Messina Central School. She was also accepted into 7 of 8 Ivy League schools, waitlisted on the 8th. Today we honor 4 amazing women from Akwesasne and their accomplishments. That includes Taylor Francis, Jenna Thompson, Yoko Uniesta Porter. But first we're going to honor Gaji Cook for her advocacy for the preservation and restoration of Aboriginal midwifery. In 2014, I had the honor of getting to know Gaji a bit during a week-long workshop here in Akwesasne. I quickly learned how amazing she is. She's so big-hearted, wise, full of life, always smiling. She's always so pleasant. She instantly became the Duda of the group. I liked her from the start. We celebrate Gaji today because she won the 2017 Inspire Award for her work for midwifery. According to the Inspire website, Gaji's work spans many worlds and disciplines. She demonstrates a lifelong career of advancing the superlatives of Indigenous knowledge through strengthening Aboriginal midwifery. Gaji was a prominent member of the Interim Regulatory Council of Midwives that worked to professionalize midwifery in Ontario. She's done some simply amazing work. So Gaji, on behalf of the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, congratulations on your Inspire Award and all the work that you've done this far. Thank you for everything that you do for our community and other communities. You are a tremendous role model for everyone in Akwesasne. We're all extremely proud of you. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Gaji Cook. So Gaji, I'm going to ask that you come to the podium to sign the book. So we're going to have a photo with Gaji and her parents after the next presentation, and then a photo with families after that. So the second presentation, we're honoring Taylor Francis, Jenna Thompson, and Yoko Uniesta Porter. They helped Team Canada win back-to-back gold medals at the World Indigenous Nations Games. 2015 in Brazil, where they went undefeated. 2 years later, it was a different country, different year, same result. They went to Alberta, they went undefeated and won another gold medal. Pretty amazing stuff. My greatest soccer accomplishment was going to the final intramural soccer at Syracuse University, which we lost. Not quite the same thing as winning back-to-back world championships. Pretty amazing. So Taylor, Jenna, and Yoko Uniesta, on behalf of the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, congratulations on your accomplishments so far. You are such great role models for the youth of Akwesasne. You represent us well, and we are all extremely proud of you. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Taylor, Jenna, and Yoko Uniesta. So same thing, we have them
have such amazing athletes and students and academics in this community. And it does a heart good to acknowledge them in front of community members. Okay, moving on to the agenda. We're at number 7. Presentation on the tobacco product project by James Ransom, Director of Table and Water. I hope people can see that.
I oversee the implementation of the Ontario First Nation cigarette allocation system at Akuzasana. And I'll share some information on it with you. Can everybody hear me okay? The next slide, please. This is the current tobacco program. And we've been participating, I believe, since it started back around 1992. This year, our allocation, in 2017-18, our allocation was 145,000, almost 146,000 cartons of cigarettes. And out of that, we were only able to sell 39,000 cartons. And we have 6 active retail vendors. We have a royalty of $5.10 that we put on every carton sold. It generated $198,000 in revenue through the program. With only 39,000 cartons being sold, it's clear the program's not working. It doesn't work for our vendors. It doesn't work for MCA. They should be able to sell the full amount of the quota. The reasons for that, one of the biggest ones is the mixed traffic corridor designation on Cornwall Island. And individuals cannot stop. They have to go to Cornwall, report, turn around, and come back. Not only for cigarettes, but for almost all businesses on the island, it hurts their businesses. And it has an impact of almost 50% on sales, no matter what business, because of that. The toll booth is a huge impact on the island. And if you're coming from the U.S., you can stop at the duty-free store, buy your whatever you want, and then go to Cornwall and report, but you can't stop on the island. And if you do decide to stop, if you want to get a bottle of water at Jocks, you have to go to Cornwall, report, turn around, come back, buy the bottle of water, and then go back through again, report again, and going into Canada. And so that adds to that $1.99 bottle of water, so $12. So people aren't going to buy on the island if you're coming from the U.S. going into Canada. You know, so, and the same happens with cigarettes. The CBSA harasses non-natives if they come across and buy a carton of cigarettes. They get harassed. We've had reports of that. Many times the first question they're asked, did you have cigarettes? So we know that that affects sales. The cigarettes on the U.S. side, is a big effect as well. It's much cheaper, and that has an impact as well. All of that contributes to only 39,000 cartons out of 145,000 cartons being sold by the businesses we permit. The next slide. This shows what's happened since the bridge closure in 2009, the reopening in the city of Cornwall. You can see the downward trend in sales. we're trying to do something about that. The next slide. We've started a tobacco pilot project back in 2012, 2013. We've been working since then to change the relationship with Ontario in particular. We've gotten them to recognize, we're saying, the right to self-determination in that we've created our own and expanded on our tobacco law, and the province now recognizes that we have jurisdiction over tobacco in the community. They now recognize our right to self-government in that we have our own royalty and that we impose it on cigarette sales, and they're acknowledging that that's part of our system, and that we don't apply provincial taxes in the community. We're also working to get them to recognize our right to trade tobacco. This is ongoing work. The border, the river, makes it hard for businesses on Cornwall Island and here in the village in Gisninet to do business. What makes more sense for us is to do trade of product with other First Nations that are better situated. And so we're going in that direction, and we've gotten support to go in that direction. It's a work in progress right now. The next slide. Based on the work we've done over the last 5 years, us and the Chippewas of the Thames have been doing pilot projects. And based on our collective work, the province has, back in February, March, put out a proposal to all First Nations in the province that if they do what we've done, create your own tobacco law, collect your own royalty, that they will acknowledge that, and that they will consider sharing a portion of all tobacco revenue in the province. They make $1.2 billion, and they've set aside $120 million for First Nations. And that if we're able to reach agreement with the province for Akwesasne, it would provide $7.2 million annually. They're trying to set it up similar to the OLG, where a percentage of all gaming revenue comes to First Nations. The next slide. What does it mean? The offer itself is unprecedented in Canada. Other provinces have programs in place with First Nations. Nothing like this, though. Most of them, the First Nation collects provincial taxes, remits it, and then it gets returned to them. But it's not a recognition of self-regulation, of collecting your own royalties and administering it yourself. This will do that. It recognizes First Nation jurisdiction on tobacco on reserve. It means that the royalties that we collect, we've always, from the beginning, said whatever we collect in Akwesasne stays in Akwesasne. And Ontario has agreed with that for all First Nations that collect their own royalties. The revenue sharing piece that they're offering is meant to help provide compensation to First Nations in adopting what they're proposing. The one requirement that they're asking is that if you have a royalty, they want you to have it to be 80% of what it is for the provincial tobacco tax, which means for us, we're at $5.10. We would have to go up to $25 on the royalty. It presents challenges that I'm going to talk about next, and raises some concerns for us. The next slide. and you would have to do that to be eligible to get the revenue share piece. In our case, the 7.2 million. So we've been working on, can we achieve this? Would it be possible? And what we've developed so far is a two-phased approach. One is that for our existing retailers, there's 6 of them, it would increase their royalty from $5 to $15. And we've argued with the province that 25 doesn't work for us because of the toll booth. And that adds and puts an added cost on sales here that no other First Nation has to deal with. And they've, so far they've accepted that argument. We've also said to our businesses that we don't want to harm them economically by this. They need to be able to stay viable. And so what we've proposed is that if we raise it from 5 to 15, we then subsidize $10 back to them. So the end result is no change, and the retail sale doesn't change in the community. The reason we propose that is in the state of Washington, the tribes there that sell cigarettes, that's what they do. They collect the equivalent of the state cigarette tax, and then they remit a portion back to their tribal businesses. So the model has been done by in other jurisdictions. It works. And if we did that, then Ontario would legalize sales to non-natives. Right now, the way the quota allocation system is supposed to work is the cigarettes are provided to First Nations to meet our Section 87 rights under the Indian Act, in which Canada cannot charge tax on cigarettes sold to Indians. However, we're not supposed to resell that to non-natives. And so the problem that they're trying to address is that all First Nations do that. And reports are up to as high as 80% of sales are to non-natives. And it's a problem they have to address. So in this scenario, by increasing the royalty to a level that's closer, that they would then legalize sales to non-natives in small quantities. We propose up to 5 cartons per purchase. But those sales would now be legal. At the same time, we would have to address CBSA and let them know that we have an agreement with Ontario. Non-natives can come on reserve, purchase cigarettes, and legally leave with them. And then that would take care of that harassment part from CBSA. So it works from that end, it works from the provincial end, and works from our end. The second piece is the next slide. And that's to meet the $25 per carton royalty threshold, that we open a store on Hamilton Island that's on the other side of CBSA and the toll booth. And at that location, we charge the $25 per carton. It still puts the cigarette price below off reserve. It meets what the province is requesting. It triggers the $7.2 million that comes to the community. And we think that sales would still occur. The price difference between on reserve and off reserve would still be about $20 a carton. And we think non-natives would buy it at that. We want to test that and see if it works. But if we did those things, again, the sales to non-natives would be legal. We don't have to deal with the border, and it generates substantial revenue for the community. We estimate it could be as high as $3 million annually, plus the $7 million from the revenue share. and it all stays in the community.
Yeah, Jim, what happens to the people that have quotas now? If the people on the island, the 6 vendors that have quotas to sell cigarettes, so you're on Hamilton's Island and you'll be able to sell the white people, you avoid the customs, you avoid everything else. So the ones on the island that have the quotas, they're going to be protected, that they can sell to non-natives?
They can sell to non-natives. They're still at $85 a carton. They're $10 cheaper than Hamilton Island. The royalties.
The people that are buying, the non-natives buying on Cornwall Island?
Yes.
What happens to their quota when they get to the customs?
If they have 5 cartons or less, then they'll legally be able to go through customs, and they won't be stopped.
5 cartons or less?
5 cartons or less.
And that's in this pilot project agreement?
That will be in the pilot project agreement, and we would be stamping cigarettes, so they would have a Mohawk Council of Officers stamp on them to signify that they're part of the system here.
Are they native cigarettes? What kind of cigarettes?
Right now, it's the major brands that we're selling. We have an application for manufacturing on Cornwall Island. It would apply to those cigarettes as well. The price to sell those would be lower than the major brands because they're locally made. They don't have the same overhead costs as the major brands.
So are you giving equal opportunities for Akwesasne to open up the store on Hamilton Island?
We haven't decided that yet. We're trying to figure out how can we make this work. That one possibility is to put it out to bid and to see if someone would be willing to operate that. We've had some interest in possibly do a private-public partnership. Someone builds a plaza there and puts more than cigarettes, and we think that we could potentially get someone based on them having the ability to put one store there of cigarettes. So that's part of the discussion that needs to occur, is how could we do this?
So you wouldn't encourage enterprise for competition, you would only have one store?
We would only have one store. And it gives us the control over that store, and because of where it's located.
Yeah, Jim, that manufacturing license that you were talking about a while
Yes.
back, that manufacturing license, that'd be sanctioned by the province?
It would be,
It would be sanctioned by the province?
and the federal government.
Now, a while back in this pilot project, you said that to manufacture cigarettes, your own cigarettes, you were working on a manufacturing license for individual owners.
Yes,
Is that part of this agreement too?
yes.
It is.
Well, it's separate because the Akwesasne tobacco law that's been passed by the community already has provisions to allow for manufacturing in the community, provided that you apply for the permit and can meet the terms and conditions of it. That's already in the law. So we're not proposing to change that, but we are proposing with this solution to be able to give them a bigger market beyond Akwesasne. We don't think the market's here. It's the ability to trade with other First Nations that are better located near larger urban centers, like Toronto.
Has cannabis ever been brought up in this discussion?
Cannabis has been brought up, not as part of this project, but part of another project we're working on because of the pending federal legislation in June of next year. So, back to your point, the question becomes, who operates the store? We're looking at different scenarios. Could we put it out to bid within the community We're creating an ECDev corporation. So we've had some discussions about could the ECDev corporation initially operate it and then transition it once we test to see how viable it is. You know, so we're trying to figure out what works best. Do we put a plaza on there that has the beyond cigarettes, arts and crafts, other products, similar to Peachtree, only on Hamilton Island? You know, so we've had a little bit of discussion about that. Nothing's been decided. It's preliminary discussions on it, and we're interested in feedback as to, you know, how could we achieve this to benefit individuals in the community, to benefit the community as a whole. From an economic development perspective, one of our goals is to get that 7.2 million into the community and to put part of that back out to benefit all businesses in the community. You know, and I'll come back to that in a minute.
What's effective?
An economic development corporation, it would be, there are some 50 to 60 in Ontario, the First Nation Economic Development Corporations, and they're run by the First Nations themselves. And they become the business arm of First Nations. You create them to separate the business assets from the political assets. So that if you create a business and for some reason it fails, then the recourse is limited just to the corporation, not to the council. So it shields the community from the business. They work. They're across Ontario, they're across Canada, they're across the United States.
Is that the business, like, is the MCA would run the business? Is that how?
The corporation would run the business.
So who's the corporation?
The corporation's entity created by MCA has its own board of directors that operates independent of council. No, it's we're creating it's called Three Feathers Corporation. We're creating an entirely new entity. We've picked the board of directors. We're in the final stages of formal incorporation. And there are no chiefs on the board of directors.
So how does that work if you're on reserve and the corporate laws? How does that apply here?
For First Nation Economic Development Corporations that are formed by First Nations, for on reserve, they have the same tax benefits as the First Nation government. It's when you go off reserve that those activities are subject to corporate taxes. But then it's limited to just corporation. Next slide. In moving forward, we're trying to identify what are the concerns that we need to be aware of. And you know, these are the primary ones. What you raised earlier. It's the ability of our existing vendors to survive. We don't want to put them out of business. You know, so that's what's most important for us in trying to come up with a solution that works for them and for us. It's about benefiting all businesses from the additional revenue that will come in, and developing ways to do that. And I'll come back to that. And then finally, it's taking the additional revenue that comes in and spending it wisely, and transparently in an open manner, so that everybody understands how we benefit collectively. The next slide. We've met once so far with the vendors. to talk to them about this and to understand what are their concerns. Here's what they've expressed. They want it to be clear how MCA would spend that $7.2 million. They don't just want it to go into black hole and it not to be transparent as to how it would be spent. The tobacco law that was passed has provisions that say how it can be spent. So that's been done already, and it's been approved by the community.
Who set that up?
In the tobacco law that was
Well,
passed,
the 7.2 million that is agreed upon by the community, how they're going to distribute that money.
yes.
Where the hell
Yes.
is that? I've never seen that.
In the tobacco, if you read the tobacco law, there's a provision in there that says whatever money is generated from tobacco can be spent on these categories. It's pretty extensive and pretty broad.
And who lays that out? The province?
No, we did that.
You did that.
The community did that in passing the tobacco law. The second concern is the economic impact on vendors if there is a store on Hamilton Island that opens. And their concern is that even if the price is higher, their sales are going to drop. And they're looking for some type of compensation if that happens. You know, and so we've had some discussions with them that that's something that could be looked at. If sales are not happening for them anymore, and sales are booming on Hamilton Island, buy their quota. It could be that simple. But then you have to arrive at a price to do that. You know, but we acknowledge that that's a major concern of theirs, and we have to address that. Another concern expressed by vendors is that government should not be operating businesses. So we acknowledge that. Their feeling is that businesses should be operating businesses, not government. And then finally, businesses want to say in decisions that affect them. So they're looking for greater involvement. And one way could be in regards to setting aside part of the additional revenue for businesses and working with them to identify what types of programs could be put in place to benefit businesses from this money. So we want to have those types of discussions. The next slide. In talking to them, these are some of the suggestions they've given us so far. Creating a summer student intern program for businesses so that in the summertime in particular, it would provide them with student help during the summer that they don't have to pay for, but it's provided to them. So that was one idea. Again, the idea of compensation to the vendors if they have losses from Hamilton Island store. And we have to figure out how to do that, but it's certainly something that could be discussed. Sort of the caveat in having this discussion, though, is that say a store in Hamilton Island opens and then a business stops selling cigarettes and says, well, I can't sell my cigarettes, when it's clear that they haven't attempted. So how do we find a balance between you know, them legitimately still trying to sell cigarettes or just pretending and saying, pay me?
Isn't that why you have a compliance officer?
That could be, you know, one of the reasons. So again, it's being sensitive to them, but balancing it somewhat. So we're aware of that. They suggested some type of a capital fund program to benefit businesses in the community. The thinking behind this is that because of the way the Indian Act works, it's very hard to get a commercial business loan on reserve. It's almost impossible. And that's because when banks give out loans, they base it on the event that somebody fails, then they can seize property, they can seize equipment. On First Nation reserves, they can't do that. So they don't give out loans. And the conversation we had was, can we use the additional revenue to create a pool of money that can serve as collateral for businesses to get loans? So that if they qualify for a business loan from a bank in every aspect except for the collateral, then that could be used for that purpose. It's a thought right now. It's something we want to explore. We have to look at the pros and cons of it, but it's something to consider. The last one that we talked about with them was providing grants to businesses to help them lower utility costs and operating costs. And some of the ideas we talked about in this area is energy efficiency improvements for businesses. And it could be grants for lighting, to switch to LED lighting. It could be grants to upgrade HVAC systems, like heating, ventilation, air conditioning. It could be grants to put better insulation in the buildings, to replace, say you've got a store and your coolers are 20 years old. A new cooler is much more energy efficient. And that if you do all these things, the savings per business can be significant. 30 to 40% on an electric bill for a business. And on the island, that's a substantial savings. So we want to explore this idea more with them. Again, to help businesses stay viable, have them benefit from it, and make the project work. The next slide. What we're doing right now is we're exploring this idea with the community. In order for it to work, we have to get support from the community, from businesses, and from council. And from the province's side, they're asking us to negotiate what they're calling an agreement in principle. And what that is it basically says that we will have further discussions on these specific areas related to getting the revenue sharing here in the community. So that's part of it. If we decide to move forward, we would have to increase the royalty with existing businesses and then set up a subsidy back to them so they don't, the net effect is no change in cigarette sales. We have to get agreement with as part of the bigger agreement with the province to legalize those sales. We would have to address CBSA so that there's no longer harassment of customers by them. And we would then be able to collect the tobacco revenue sharing from Ontario. The challenge we have is we're running out of time. Ontario is going to have an election in 2018, and right around December, January, they're going to go into election mode. And this offer will probably come off the table. It will require changes to the Ontario Tobacco Tax Act, specifically to allow the revenue sharing with First Nations. We have an Ontario government that's willing to consider this. The next Ontario government probably won't be as willing unless this one gets back in, and the odds are not in their favor right now for other reasons. So the challenge for us collectively is, can we take advantage of this opportunity right now? Do we believe it's an opportunity? It's part of it. And if we do, then how do we take advantage of it? There are other First Nations that are pursuing this at the same time. There are other First Nations that are saying, no way, we won't even consider it. So you've got a range of responses to it. And we're trying to share that at each of the general meetings right now, helping the community to understand what's being offered, so we can put our best foot forward in responding to this. Any other questions?
HST, how is that, does that affect over here?
Right now, there is no HST that's applicable. Part of the challenge we're going to have is our discussions. This is an Ontario proposal. So in terms of sales to non-natives, I believe they'll give up their side of the HST. What's unknown is what the federal government is going to do. Historically, they haven't. And we don't know if that's going to change. The opportunity we have right now is you've got a liberal government at the federal level. You've got a liberal government at the Ontario level. So if they were going to do it, now would be the time. That's clear to me.
Hey Jim, if you have how many reserves are on this pilot project?
Two.
Why did they decide to pick here? Why would Akwesasne be one of the ones on the pilot project, knowing that we have a lot of problems with the customers, and knowing that CBSA has been challenged before when we had the border crossing way back, and they wouldn't approve moving oil or anything else.
Yes.
Now, why is it all of a sudden they have a change of mind?
Yeah.
That they're going to work with you, and as long as you're...
Yeah, back in 2011, they hired a Seneca lawyer, Kathleen Lickers, to work on helping them to address the tobacco problems in the province, including Akwesasne. She came out with a report in early 2012, and as part of her report development, she came and visited with us. Our recommendation to her was that if Ontario believes that we're part of the problem for tobacco, we need to be part of the solution. And that we think the best chance of a solution is a First Nation-driven solution. And so when Kathleen Lickers published her report, she put in there the suggestion that there be 2 pilot projects in the province to allow First Nations to self-regulate tobacco. We met with the province and said, we're prepared to be one of them. And they agreed to it. So they selected us and the Chippewas of the Thames. So that's how it came about.
I have one last question.
Yes.
Since our reserve, you know, with the American side being part, and they have factories, manufactured cigarettes. Now, with this pilot project, is that going to allow them to manufacture their own cigarettes on this reserve and sell them to the vendors on the Canadian side?
What we've said in terms of what should be in the agreement in principle is that the list of topics that should be discussed include our ability to trade tobacco with other First Nations in Ontario. And that in that scenario, it should include being able to import tobacco from native manufactured cigarettes on the US portion, bring them into Canada, and then be able to add that to being traded with other First Nations legally. And they agreed to have discussions on that. So we don't know how it's going to turn out, but we've made the case and they're listening. Other questions, comments?
I noticed your presentation is different and it's missing some things that we spoke about last one, like about the levy.
Yes.
I wasn't too clear on that last one. I'm wondering if we took that out of it or you just decided not to speak about it. And there's a couple of things, so I was just looking at my article from last week.
Yes.
Or last month, it was when they're running presentations different now.
Yeah, no, the levy is still part of the discussion. We have a $5.10 levy on each carton that's sold in our stores. And under what Ontario is proposing, they're looking for, it should be 80% of the off-reserve provincial tobacco tax, which means for us it would be increased to $25 per carton. The problem in doing that is it would put our businesses out of business. And so to address that for the existing vendors, we would increase it to 15 because of the toll booth charges. And increasing to 15, that's still a burden on them. So we would subsidize them back 10 of it. So in effect, it stays $5.10 per carton for them. To qualify for the 25 or for the $7.2 million, we would open a store on Hamilton Island, and that location would charge the 25 per carton. There would be no subsidy back to that location.
So the royalty, the levy, or the same
The
exact?
royalty would be 25 per carton. We believe that the cigarettes could still be sold for 95 per carton, which would be $20 less than off reserve. And we think that that's significant enough savings that smokers would still buy the lower price cigarettes. And by putting it at 25, selling it at 95, it's $10 more per carton than on reserve, or on this part of the reserve. So that helps to level the playing field for existing vendors. So we're trying to find a balance that works for them, works for us, and gets us the additional revenue. But the system doesn't work right now. That's the bottom line for us.
So if this thing doesn't work, throw the towel in. I don't think anything works.
Yeah, we've been operating this way for 20 years. It's the CBSA moving to Cornwall, the toll booth moving to where it was done in the last within the last 10 years. We think that this will address it. If it doesn't work, we look for another solution.
But you guys are spending money trying this, right? Spending money? Are you trying this stuff?
Yes.
Why can't we use that money to fix these roads and not?
The money that we've spent has come from the province, specifically for this project. They funded it for 5 years now. And $7.2 million in additional revenue, if the community says that should be used to fix roads, suddenly you've got revenue to do that. So we're trying to create that opportunity. We have a comprehensive community plan. It has a list of objectives, a vision for the community of the future, and it costs money to achieve that vision. This revenue stream gives us that ability to do it over time. To address the potholes, to help businesses become more viable. We're looking for ways to create a vision of a better community in the future. And this gives us the resources to do that. It doesn't solve all the problems, but it gets us in the right direction.
Tim, we're going to have to wrap this up.
Okay.
2 other agenda items that are just equally important.
All right. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item 8. I have a presentation from Adawadatwe Nation Building. The staff is here. Connie, you want to introduce the people?
Hi, this afternoon, or this evening, our Adawadatwe staff, Aaron Cole and Nolan Mitchell, are going to do a presentation just to provide you with some update on presentation meetings that they're working on and that they've been having monthly. So Aaron and Nolan.
Hi. We provide monthly meeting engagement sessions for the community on actually anywhere. Akwesasne on the southern portion and the northern portion. It's for you to get an understanding of what we're trying to do with the Endawadatwe self-governing process. We have it once a month at the end of the month, and we would like to see who's there. We had one on the island already, and only one person was there, and we had to practically beg them to come up. But we want to get yous involved. We want to hear what you have to say about it. We want to answer your questions. We want to take our time and explain it to you. So we follow the general meeting. So Monday, the 28th, is our next session, and it'll be here. So wherever the general meeting is, if it's down Sly or on the island, we'll always have one on the island or whatever, wherever it goes, just to answer your questions and to give you a true understanding of what we're trying to do. And that's about it. At 6. The flyer's right here. It's on CKON and it's on the newspaper. It's in the newspaper also.
Social media.
Social media. We got Facebook. We have Twitter for the younger generation. Is that like the Twitter? Yes. Yes, it is. So show up to the meetings.
Did you talk to your grandmother or grandfather?
They're deceased. My grandparents are deceased. No, because they're deceased.
Because when you ask them, they'll get mad at you. They ever say that, don't ever go to stop coming. And a lot of people are trying. And you say, because me, it's not happy about that. Nobody will go. You know what's going to happen if they go there, right? What's going to pay for your medicine? The council is going to come back and say, here, we'll pay for that because they cut right off. And why are they still trying to do it? But the elders, they'll let you know.
Yep, I've heard a lot. If you go to the meetings on Monday too and explain more, like to me and to Nolan or to whoever, we'd like to hear it. We would like to hear your concerns. We want to know too what you feel and what your concerns
Well, a lot of
are.
people trying to keep talking about this, but they don't want to go because they get mad.
I understand.
That's the worst we ever got. A lot of these people work for the man office right now. You pay the kind of pension, right? And you're going to retire. You're not going to get that money. Don't say you're on your own. You're going to do that.
Do we have grandparents here? Grandparents? How many are angry?
Oh, well, grandparents.
You're a grandparent. How many? Yeah. Well, I'm happy with it.
Me too.
Thank you for the question.
So Monday here at 6 o'clock will be our
Please
education
come.
session.
Bring your grandparents if you can. Thank you.
Bring a friend.
Bring friends, bring whoever.
Thank you very much. Next agenda item, we have a presentation by the working group on the Akwesasne election law amendments. This is Chelsea Francis will take charge of this.
My name is Chelsea Francis. I'm the Mohawk Government Support Manager. I am a member of the working task group for the Akwesasne election law. Basically what we have for you today as far as updates go.
Is it a wide angle?
Wide angle. Here we are. Basically what we wanted to give you an update on is what's been done so far, which is 3 district meetings. These consultation meetings have taken place in Kanadago, ongoing Nogan, and also in Jisniker. Next up, we're doing a second round of consultation meetings. The first round that we did, we had council quorum there. All of council was present for those meetings. These next 3 meetings that will be taking place in each district do not necessarily require council to be in attendance. It'll only be the working task group. So the main focus of these meetings is to help the community to gain a better understanding of what it is that has been proposed as far as changes to the election law so far, what your questions are, answering those to clarify them, and also get your feedback on whether you like something or whether you don't like something, but also to get an understanding of what it is you would want to see changed and how you want it changed in the election law. So as working task group members, our main goal is to gain those comments and feedback from you, from the community, and to facilitate those changes into the document. So as working task group members, we're not making the changes. The community is giving us the changes they want to see. We're just putting it into the document. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an understanding. And in your agenda packages, you'll have a list of the dates, times, and locations of the next 3 meeting times and dates.
As well, I want to also let everyone know there's going to be another live chat. It'll be this Friday. So if you have a computer and you want to go to the MCA Facebook page, you will see the questions that are being posed by the community. And we will answer them as best as we can, or just take your comments and give that to the council. It's important that you attend these meetings, because if you have any concerns with the election law, this is your time to bring it forward to council. All those community consultation meetings will be recorded, and your comments, this is the time that's set up for your comments to the draft election law. It's not the final one. We still have a chance to change it. So if there's something that you don't like, and if there's things that you do like, please come and let us know. So you can see the live chat this Friday at 3
p.m.
3 p.m. Get on your smartphones, get on your computers, go to the Facebook page for MCA, or else come to the community consultation meetings, which will happen in September.
Yeah. So for those consultation meetings, we have September 7th, September 8th, and September 9th. They're all at different times and at different locations, but they're each taking place in one of the 3 districts. So also the live chat that Joyce was talking about, we are sitting there at the other end of the computer talking to you live. So when you write a comment, we're instantly seeing it. And we're able to instantly answer you right away. So
not instantly. Takes the time to type.
Takes a couple minutes to type it, but we're answering you as quickly as possible, and we're hoping to help clarify any questions that you have. If you can't make any of these consultation meetings, if you don't have Facebook, grab one of your grandkids, sit them down with you, have them help you answer or put questions onto our feed, and we'll try to help you as best as we can. Okay, so the September 7th will be at the Snide Homemakers, and the time is going to be from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. September 8th will be at Ganondago Recreation here from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then the September 9th will be at Gawanoga Arena from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Thank you.
What was the Facebook page?
Sorry?
What was the Facebook page?
The MCA.
MCA Council of Akazasne.
Oh.
Facebook page. Yeah. Okay.
Time is that?
The arena is going to be at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Question. Is there any sessions for the villas at Yatisota, Giannisade, or Sweet Light?
What was the question?
Is there any sessions, possible sessions for the villas at Yatisota, Giannisade, or Sweet Light?
No one has asked that.
And would there be any session for the southern portion, such as one and
So the question is, will there be a meeting at Yagisata or Jukwanusade or what was the other one? Sweet Light. You can request that. The residents there can request that, but the community, we're really trying to do 3 more, and that's extra for us to bring to you. If there's a request that you want it at a particular place, then it would depend on whether or not you know, we have the time, not the time, but the space available for us. We've tried to find venues within the 3 districts, and those 3 districts were it was hard to find space. So we are working and trying to do this and reach as many people as we can.
In addition to what Joyce has said, is that we have been reaching out, actually reaching out more than the law requires us to, as it's written now. So for the Southern portion, they're more than welcome to come to these sessions. I don't think we're going to be able to coordinate a special session, and I'm going to call it that, a special session, because we've done 3 sessions already, and we've had no more than 20 people. So we're going on Facebook now. We've had the first session we had on Facebook was great. There were a lot of comments, and that really helped for people to see it, whether they took part in the conversation or not, they could read it. There'll be another one on Friday. There's 3 more sessions held, 1 in each district. We really encourage everybody to attend any and all of them. They're not specific to districts. And we said that with the first round. You could go to 1, 2, all 3. So we say that again. And then we can start looking at the results of all of these questions and the Facebook comments and everything. But the comments we look on Facebook will be during the live chat only. So yeah, it's a lot of work that the working task group has been doing, and it's good work. And I know we all have difference of opinion on that work, but it still is good work. So please come out to those sessions. Join us on Facebook on Friday. I don't know that we'll add extra, but the Yakisuta and Jigunusa and Tweed Flag are certainly good to consider.
Right now, Mohawk Council follows, they don't follow the Indian Act in terms of their elections, am I right?
Right.
What is that called again? It's called what?
Customary elections.
Custom elections, yeah. Now, how is this new election law going to affect the custom election that we presently use?
It's still a custom election, because even though you opted out of the Indian Act, and when you opt out of the Indian Act, as long as you, I should get in front of the camera? Okay. It's still a custom election, even because when you have a custom election, you opt out of the Indian Act. So you're no longer accountable to Indian Affairs for any law that comes subsequently, as long as you meet the criteria in your law. And in particular, the Akwesasne election law that happened in 2005 said this is the way we're going to amend the law. And that's what we're following right now. As long as you follow what the law tells you to do, you are fine. For example, if we are going to follow, if the community approves this election law and the draft amendments, and it says from now on we will follow the law enactment procedure, then that's what we'll do, because the community told us to do that. Not because Indian Affairs tells us to do that, because they're out of the picture now. It's up to this community to vote on anything that we feel is correct for this community. Okay.
And how many votes are you going to, like, is it the whole of the membership, or is it just going to be the residents that are voting?
It's always been eligible voters.
So that's just people who reside on the
within the district. Yes.
Hey, Joyce?
Yes.
Now that you say this is your own customary law,
Yes.
if that law is broken, whether it be through confidentiality or somewhere breached, along the oath taken or anywhere in that law, and you want to complain against that, the way it was distributed amongst the people, so you want to put a complaint in, where do you go for that?
You would go to the Akwesasne court.
You go to the court and
Yes.
you put a complaint into the court?
Yes.
Okay. Will it stay on the reserve, or will it be transferred?
It would stay on reserve.
For final decision?
Yes. It doesn't stop you from going to the outside, but the outside is going to tell you to bring it back here first because there's a process. Because it's a community law, they'll say you have to take care of the mechanisms that you have in place on reserve. And the mechanisms we have in place is the Akwesasne Court.
Right, okay, that outright, the provincial,
Yes.
they'll respect your court to make an answer? to-
They have no choice.
They have no choice.
We're taking jurisdiction.
Thank you, Joyce. Now, next agenda item is business from the floor. Any issues?
I have something to say. I think it was very honorable of council to recognize the 4 people that you just honored. But you know, Mike Mitchell received that Inspire Award and council never recognized him. I think he should have been honored as well.
He will be.
Yeah.
He will be honored.
It's a year late, a year and a half late.
Yeah, we do have a lot of names that are.
I know, but
on the
she
list.
got her Inspire Award just a couple of months ago.
Yes.
It came down to scheduling too.
What's
Yeah.
that?
It came down to scheduling too. She was free, Mike was not free.
Yeah. Friendship, or ex-French chief was on the road.
He will be honored though.
Yeah.
Sure.
They'll get their spot. Yes.
Again, I'd like an update on the fuel assistance to people who live off the reserve in Cornwall.
That is, we can, Dennis, you want to take this on?
Yeah, duly,
Okay,
progress
Julie's here.
council meeting, but duly,
We're moving forward with amendments to the policy to extend the heating assistance off reserve to the city of Cornwall, within the city limits of Cornwall. Some of the options that we're looking at also is the heating assistance, because in the city of Cornwall, some people have electric and fuels, or oil, or gas, electric or gas. So that's an option for them if they want to split their money between half for electrical and half for the gas. There's some items we have to look at. What is, when we say within the Cornwall city limits, what is that? Is it 15 miles in? Is it 20 miles in? Is it Tollgate Road, Mountview Road, and Saunders Drive? So we have to look at those. We're getting clarification from the city of Cornwall when they say within the city limits, what is their city limits? So we're getting clarification on that. We're speaking with Ontario Disability Support Program also, because the numbers that we were given included Ontario Disability Support Program clients. So we need to speak with them to see what those clients receive in Cornwall, although they may live on Cornwall Island. But we need to consider those also. We are looking at, to begin the fuel program application process, October 16th to start it, and end on December 1st. That's a tentative date, but we are moving forward with the amendments to the policy. The community support program has those wording, and they will be coming to council for approval within the next 2 weeks.
So it'll be in effect this year.
Yes, it will.
Okay.
We are definitely going for the October 16th deadline,
Yeah.
so it will be before that.
Any other business?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just going to ask all of you chiefs what you know about our North American Indian people having to sign a green card. I'm a school bus driver. I have a commercial driver's license. I've been driving for Ambi for the past 3 years. And I have been told when I went to go renew my license in New York State, that I'm not allowed to have my license, my commercial driver's license. So I went to see Mr. Thompson, and he gave me a letter, and I was to take it to the port. So I, as a Native American person, have signed a green card. Otherwise, I'm not going to have my commercial driver's license. And under the J Treaty Act, we're supposed to be covered by that. You should be informed, and they should have informed us. Because they already have the papers, it's called Record of Creation. That shouldn't exist amongst our people. I don't care where you live. Whether you live in the United States or whether you live in Canada, we're covered by the J Treaty. 80 years ago, Mr. Dibo fought back for the iron workers. Now I have to stand up and fight it. It's going to Grand Council this weekend. They don't know yet that I signed that paper. When I came out of there, I was angry at myself for signing that paper. But that's because I need to work. Because I still am a nurse and I still can't get employed in my own community. It's terribly wrong. I'm a really good foot care nurse.
We agree. We've been working on this for 5 years. We just returned from a border crossing summit in Minneapolis with Homeland Security, and the congressman who's in charge of the House Committee on Border Crossing was there, and we had 25 other First Nation and tribal members from that area all the way to Idaho. All of this information was given to him. And the issues that you just said is one of them. And the other issue is the TWIC cards that our Mohawk iron workers are forced to carry and forced to declare citizenship on. That was an agenda item. That is going to be addressed soon because the tribal liaison for Homeland Security and I had a long conversation about this. This is an agenda item that stems from this Eastern natives that the First Nations and Iroquois caucus, all the Mohawk communities. 6 Nations was present at this meeting. The only one who wasn't was Tyendinaga and Ganawage, but they're well aware because we sent the information to them the same day. This is an ongoing issue. We understand what you're going through. There's the forcing jurisdiction upon Mohawk people and other tribes across this nation. That special mediator, Fred Caron, his report is due at the end of this month to the Public Safety Minister, and it will probably go to the Senate Committee. We need Canada and the United States to get together and come to some sort of an agreement on First Nations people. We've had this argument going for 5 years now, and now we're making progress. Them 25 tribes in the Midwest have formed a Border Summit Alliance. So now that we have the numbers on both sides of the border, we also have the numbers on this side. His report will address the ones to the farthest west from DC and Washington and Oregon. He's been collecting this information for over a year.
Why weren't the people aware of this? Why haven't you brought this to our attention? That's your job, all of you.
This has been reported at general meetings in the past. This is our venue here. It's on our website. This is not something new that just started. This is a 5-year project we've been working on. We have regular conversations with CBSA and U.S. Customs, and we formally object to our people being subject to these extra regulations. They have issues on both sides. The tribes on the American side want quorum letters. And you got to be 50% in order to cross the border and go to work. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. And we voice our objections to that. The next step along this is going to be a meeting at a higher level, possibly the White House. Because President Obama was informed of this. I personally sent him a letter from the information that we've been gathering. PTOs in Ontario, they're all on board with this. Their voices, they're sending their chiefs to here. They're going through the same problem we are. We're being forced to declare citizenship.
Well, I'm not going to be forced because I'm going to have a lawyer and I have the Haudenosaunee Onondaga Nation right now.
Well,
We're having Grand Council this Saturday.
Haudenosaunee, we had a guy there from Cayuga, one of the chiefs was there, so George, Terderiga. Well, he was there and went around the East Coast. The majority are, you got, what's his name? But anyways, the Haudenosaunee are attending these meetings. And we're offering them different scenarios for us. You guys need to adjust your legislation is what the problem is. But I have all the minutes. If you want copies of that, I'd be more than happy to share it with you.
So I have my papers in the car. I'm being looked at as an illegal alien.
Yes.
That's horrible.
It is horrible. And that's our argument.
Why now, Steve? All these years they didn't ask why now.
Well, you have a different administration in both places. Both places.
No, it was made in 2015 when Obama was in presidency.
See, it's
over a year or more.
Canada and the United States are signing agreements, border crossing agreements, and we're not included in it. I attend these and voice my objections. I don't care if there's 700 suits sitting here talking about economics and commerce. I put our impacts on the table. I get yelled at, but I don't care. They tell you this is not a political forum, it's economic forum. I says, I don't care. You guys need to listen, because you're impacting us. Look what we have to go through just to get an ambulance from here to there. And now this employment issues.
And so now I'm jobless again. So I'm supposed to talk to the H&R person. Dwayne's going to have me talk with someone because I'm going to have to work. I can't be without a job.
Yeah, I understand that. The St. Mary's Mohawk Tribe were co-presenters at this. So they're on board now with all of these issues. All the chiefs. They were well represented there. They were co-hosting the event.
But that wasn't the one that was in Albany?
No, this was in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay. I remember. I was that. So I'm just letting you know. A lot of the people probably don't know about it. I've been putting it out on the internet and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of the gentlemen have come up to me. Some of them are commercial truck drivers. They drive a tractor trailer, and they've had to sign and get the green card so they can cross the borders.
Yeah.
So if they're coming after commercial driver's license, let's just say some of our elders, they've worked in the States all their life. I've worked in the States all my life.
So did I.
And I drive an American car, and I'm not changing it.
So do I. They wouldn't let me into Canada and Niagara Falls.
My driver's license next.
Yeah, I'm not going to change it. I've been fighting this all my whole life, since 1968, when I got thrown out of the New York State Museum. It's not going to stop. We will find a solution. I'll be more than happy to share the minutes I have with
That'd be great.
6 meetings so far. So it's an ongoing.
Because this is news to me. I mean, I've never heard of it until I had to renew my license on my birthday of all things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
My alien.
We're not aliens. Water space. Is there any other business on the floor? Sir?
Just for clarification, what kind of license do you have?
I'm a CDL Class B.
Okay.
Passenger endorsement, air brake endorsement.
Okay.
School bus driver.
No, what kind of license? American or Canadian?
I'm a New York State driver's license.
Now, you're working for AMBI, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
For the clarification. Now,
And once school starts, I can. So Dwayne said that he'll put me with an H&R person. They're going to be putting me to work somewhere until that card comes in the mail, because I can't get that license until that card comes.
so am I to understand that AMBI is telling you that you can't work because you need that card? Or AMBI can't put you on the bus because the New York State regulations require you to have that green card?
Nobody can drive a school bus unless you're our CDL Class B.
Yeah.
That's not my question. My question is, they won't allow you to drive the bus until you get a New York State green card.
I don't know.
Who's telling you that you need to, who's telling you that you need to?
My license tells me that.
No, what is the?
If I were to drive your school bus,
okay,
and something happens, I'm liable for all those 40-something children that I'm driving
So
to
it's not
school.
driven by Amby, it's driven
So
by
law,
law.
New York State law,
New York State.
I am not allowed to drive a school
All right.
bus
That's what I wanted to know.
with a Class D license.
I have one question. The green card, isn't that just for employment in the state?
It's for employment and it's for me to get my commercial driver's license. You want
For
to see
immigrants.
papers? I'm an immigrant.
That's an immigrant.
But that's what I'm saying is, that's my question. It's allowing you to work there, isn't it? Because that's what green cards are for, to allow you to work in that state from another country.
To allow any Canadian-born resident to work in the United States.
Or any.
Not just
resident.
me.
I know, but that's what I'm trying to ask. If the green card is for your employment in the States, or if it's for you to
The
get
green
your...
card is so that I can go get my commercial driver's
Okay,
license.
you're...
And then also gives me the opportunity to work in the United States.
That's ridiculous, but you're only traveling through the transit.
Pardon me?
You're only going through the states. You're not working in the state.
You can't renew your license to New York State unless you get a green card. That's what they're saying.
Your commercial.
Would you like to see the papers?
Representation of your working.
Especially if you are Canadian born.
Yeah.
So
If you are Canadian born, you have to apply for this green card in order to renew your driver's license.
Yeah, we're
Or
going
to
to follow.
work in New York
We're going to follow this up with our HR department.
It's going to affect some,
The whole reserve.
It's affected a lot of communities already.
bus drivers, it's going to affect.
Absolutely. There's a multitude of issues there. It's not just bus drivers. You know, I feel for you because this is what we're fighting for.
And I'm not lazy. And if I can't work, I'll find something. Because I'm not a lazy person. And I'm not going to kiss any of your asses either for a job, because that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years since I've been a nurse.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated, believe me.
That's so many.
Is there other business on the floor?
Yeah, I have one. In 1962, they put a line across on Cornwall Island. I met with some people on the island today, a bunch of guys who got together. And since 1962, you've had that gas line crossing the island. They've been enjoying that gas line for over 50 years. They've been collecting off that gas line. So, I don't know what year it is, you guys signed an agreement with the Niagara Gas Transmission. It might have been 2010, maybe Tim Thompson.
2008.
2009?
2009.
Okay, now I understand that you have a court case, the T-22-1076, the Seaway claim. Now this agreement you have with the gas line to collect $100,500 a year won't affect that court case. That agreement, is that true? What I read, Tim, is that the agreement you made doesn't affect that Seaway claim.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm asking is that you collected money back then, and one of them was for an environmental assessment. They gifted you with $113,000, $113,250 to do an environmental assessment to make sure that it was feasible to put that gas line along Cornwall Island. Another one you were gifted with was $75,000, and it was agreed upon that you were going to get a committee together and do an investigation on the island, house to house, to see if it was not only feasible, but that the people were agreed upon having a gas line on the island. So I'm looking at this over and over again, this agreement, and you're collecting in a 20-year agreement of $100,500 a year, the agreement you have. It's not renewable till 20 years is up, which you probably have another 8 or 9 years, I imagine. But anyway, you guys should know all about this agreement. So what I'm asking is, with the people on the island, we got together. Like I run 5 furnaces. I had them all serviced today, And I notice all the time, we brought this up over and over where we meet. The gas line, they're enjoying it. That 12-inch high-pressure line on Cornwall Island runs 600-some pound pressure. They fed all the industries here for years. When I worked at General Motors as a pipe fitter, we know exactly where their earthquake valve was, and they had enjoyable gas to run all their stuff at General Motors. Now they're crossing, they're going to go down Franklin County. They're going to feed the arena, all the places over there. When General Motors went down, Messina was jumping up and down because their gas prices went right down. It's the cleanest gas you can get, better than propane. And we're getting sick of all the fuel oil, all the nozzles. Every year we've got to get a maintenance. So I don't understand why Enbridge Gas isn't approached by either the council or get a community committee together. And we'll approach Enbridge and we'll do our own survey on the island, because a lot of people want it. Now, we've run into people and we've had arguments with them already. They're saying, well, it's crossing our island, why should we pay for it? If they don't want it, don't hook them up. But there's a lot of us that do want it. It's very clean, it runs in there, and you guys know, it doesn't take much to put a valve in this. I asked when they put the water lines in, why didn't you run the gas lines then in the same ditch? It can be done. Cornwall, they run right along the sidewalks and feed all the houses. It's clean, it's very clean. You don't have to worry so much about the oil. And I'm just wondering, what can we do to engage Enbridge, go after Enbridge? Because Niagara Gas Transmission, you know, the St. Lawrence Gas, they're monitoring, they're having a field day with it. They love the gas over here. And I think we can do more than $100,500 a year. They should be approached by a strong committee, and what we need to do is figure out how we can put gas on Cornwall Island, as far as I'm concerned.
This is one of the ongoing studies we've been doing since we got the petition from Delroga residents about finding alternative resources and sources for heat, electricity, and what you just put on the table. This is an ongoing work that Jim's department is doing. Feasibility study and all this other, we just recently done the ACP with energy efficient appliances. Plus this afternoon or this morning we met with Environment Climate Change. They have $2.5 billion and they're looking for a First Nations partner to start this, their new funding sources out. And we're right here, we're willing to listen to this and how it can benefit not only Go North, but the two other districts.
Well, what happened, Steve, what happened to the $13,000 that was given for the environmental assessment? We've never had a report on that. Well, I've never seen the assessment.
I can have Jim Ransom answer that.
Yeah. And another one is the $75,000 for, you know, the commitment by the community to go around and do a, what do you call it, door-to-door. We're supposed to ask questions, who wants it, who doesn't want it. We've never heard of feedback from anyone.
Yeah, let me give you an update. We did a survey, like you talked about, and there was support for it at the time. The problem we ran into is that Cornwall Island by itself did not have enough homes to make the project economically feasible. And so we talked about servicing all 3 districts with natural gas. And that if we serviced the island, we then would run it down 37 up to the casino, catch the homes along that way, run it down St. Regis Road to the village, run it down Cook Road to Snyder. That was what we talked about. We were in discussions with the St. Regis Mohawk tribe. They were initially interested, and then the hydrofracking in Atlantic Canada happened. And protests there over hydrofracking for oil and natural gas. And protests occurred here by Twin Leaf over that, if you remember. And when that occurred, the tribal council backed away. So we couldn't go any further. We needed both in order for it to make it work economically. Since then, it's sat on the sidelines. What happened is that earlier this year, Ontario announced that they were making money available to private companies to extend natural gas systems. Enbridge is one of them. We provided them with information. They are looking specifically at Cornwall Island to see if they could run, using the money from the province, to build the system on the island at the province's money. So that's where it's at right now. I believe they submitted an application to do that, and they're waiting to hear on the results of that.
Well, Jim, another thing, I don't think that the tribe or American side should make any decisions on that. Because in your agreement, if you read it, the agreement does have specifics that it has an agreement with Reserve 59. They're referring to the Ontario portion.
Yes.
So the tribe shouldn't be holding us up. If we have majority of the people on the island to do a survey, and if a lot of people on the island want this, why is it we can't fight for it?
Yeah.
Because it does say right here, for the purpose of this agreement, only the term Akwesasne territory shall be understood to refer to the part of Akwesasne Reserve 59.
Yeah, and you know, the issue is money. We can't afford to build a natural gas pipeline on Cornwall Island for all the homes, business, and MCA facilities. Just by itself, the amount of money generated in using it won't pay for the installation of the equipment. That's the problem. But if we are able to do Sny and St. Regis and the American side, then you have enough customers to make it feasible to do that economically. That's what the problem has been. The funding from Ontario has changed that now. And Enbridge has submitted an application to build on Cornwall Island specifically, consistent with that agreement.
Consistent with this agreement.
Yes.
So, yeah. See, I don't understand it. $100,500 a year is peanuts. That's nothing. That's supposed to be gifted to the whole reservation for the use of crossing our territory with a 12-inch high-pressure gas line, which is foolish. Now, as far as piping, the cost of putting the pipe in, well, that should have been in that agreement from the beginning. We don't mind paying the gas bill. It comes, we want it. It's clean.
Yeah.
But the idea of putting it in, the distribution of the line should be covered with them making $60 billion a year on their pipeline crossing the island.
Yeah.
And we got complaints from community members saying, well, Dave, you know, like, we're against the pipeline. I went to Standing Rock and all this other shit. They stood at that Cornwall Island and watched them go underwater with it. They've known that we're collecting for that gas line for years. So I don't know what they're complaining about. You know, everybody seems to like it, but they complain over somewhere else, you know.
Yeah.
They forget what we're up against. And it's clean. People have to understand that it's 95% methane. They just took the sulfides out so they can pipe it and keep it clean. But that's even cleaner than propane. It's good to burn. And I think we should really push on this.
I think if you wait and see how the grant turns out, I'm hoping we'll be pleasantly surprised.
Well, where's Enbridge on this?
They're the ones who submitted the application.
The presentation that Enbridge gave us, and I can't get back to the date here, otherwise I'll lose the presentation here. As Jim said, it was a $100 million natural gas program. The application deadline was July 31st. They expect to hear results in the fall. The expansion project was for $70 million. Economic development projects, $30 million. Project is expected to be completed by March 31st, 2021. In total, there was 41 communities have been considered, representing 21,000 potential customers. These projects could bring natural gas to 9,000 potential customers over the next 5 years. Cornwall Island is one of those 9 communities.
And that was released when?
This was a presentation to our council, but I don't have a problem releasing it this afternoon.
No, but what? Just recently?
Yeah. Hold on,
Made an application, the deadline was July 31st of this year.
Of this year?
Yes.
July. But it's never been published out in the community?
It's not until it gets funded.
I haven't heard from it.
Not until it gets funded.
It's in a meeting.
Well, we're on the list.
Yeah.
One of 9.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We're collecting information constantly. Finding alternative sources. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Ryan, is that your name?
Yeah.
With the school playground on the island, they were supposed to update the playground system. There was something dangerous for the little ones to be playing out there. I just wanted to know if that's been done yet, because the schools are getting ready to open back up and the kids are going to be back on the playground.
Yeah, it's been brought to the attention of DTS, and they took care of it.
So everything, is it all safe?
I will double check to reassure to make sure everything's done, but I'm very sure they addressed it.
And there was an issue in Snide too with, I don't know, needles being found by the playgrounds and stuff like that. I don't know if there's somebody there to clean that up so the kids aren't going to get hurt.
We actually have, this is discussed under public safety. That came from the EHO's annual playground safety equipment check. And that information goes back to administration, down to DTS. Any needles and all this other, DTS is getting training on this. AMPS, the current protocol is you call AMPS, you put a flag down, that's it, nobody touches it. AMPS will come and pick it up and take it and do a report on it. That way you can keep track of where these people are migrating from. So,
congregate.
Yes, but it's a public safety regular agenda.
And I'm just concerned because I have grandchildren that are in these playgrounds. You know.
Your concern is our concern.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Open? Going once? Yes.
I want to know if anybody applied for the chief of police job from the community. Because the new chief of police is starting when? September 5th?
September 5th, yes.
Did anybody from, and within the community, did somebody apply?
Yeah, we were part of the process.
The policy selected?
The police commission, the
The
executive.
chair of the
director.
police commission was involved in that.
And who's that?
Gary Cole. I mean, I'm not supposed to.
Because I think we have a number of people who probably would have been suitable for that job. I think somebody like the Mitchell guy that's over at OPP.
If he was interested, he would have applied.
Right. Then he should have been approached.
Well, we had 7. I know that there was 7. They're from all over the country. So, council doesn't interfere because it's arm's length commission and
So I can think
administration.
of 3 people that from the community that probably would have been suitable for that job.
Well, it's a what-if situation. You got to give the man a chance to come into the community and check it out himself.
And I hear Byron's coming back too, or is he back?
I can't discuss that. It's personnel issues.
So he's back.
So that's all administration issues.
Well, on that point, I think he's a danger to our community.
This is why we have these meetings, and we can bring this into
I don't believe that he should be even allowed to come across that bridge.
Yes. They're looking for alternative solutions to that problem. It's an ongoing issue.
And it's been for a long time.
Yes.
I don't know why
Yes.
he's still being
I agree.
paid.
I agree.
So Steve, as far as Byron goes, we passed a resolution one time at a meeting. It was 32-0 that voted with all their hands up. That we didn't want Byron back on the territory patrolling our roads or anything to do with the community. And you should have that filed somewhere. We got it seconded, we handed it to the council. It was at one of the general meetings.
Right.
The police commission, someone on the police commission informed me that Mohawk Council was looking into buying a house and land on the island for $1 million. Is that true?
For what?
I'm just asking, do you guys know of anything on buying a house and land on Cornwall Island for $1 million? And it came from one of your people on the police commission.
We don't have $1 million. Go ahead. Don't say it.
Okay, I'm just wondering. You're not looking into buying this?
Dave, as a member of the property acquisition team, I can tell you that is false.
It's false.
That's
Okay.
false.
Well, I gotta follow up with all this BS coming.
I know all the people that you talk to, Dave, you have to follow up. I understand that.
And another question is, why did you have Hemrick here with Leanne O'Brien when you needed backup? I mean, if she can't handle the position as the chief of police at the time, why did you get a Hemrick coming in, a sergeant with the OPP, to sit at our office in here to back her up? Like, I thought this was a federal Indian reserve. You should have RCMP or some of the federal. Why did you allow her to bring him in?
Well, they have a protocol agreement for assistance, mutual aid, with multitude of agencies.
You know, Steve, this reservation all starts, and if we got to keep it federal, we start making provincial laws, provincial authority, and bring it in provincial police, we're going to run into a jurisdictional problem big time.
Yeah.
And that's how you dissolve your reservation, is to kiss the province's ass.
That's right. Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, we need to get them people out. And I agree with Laura that, you know, there should have been more investigation done as far as hiring the chief of police in-house. Like this guy is with the Quebec police, right? He's provincial, right? I think the peacekeepers in Ganawagi got the right idea because it keeps it federal. It keeps it in-house and keeps it federal. If we start signing all these agreements with provincial, we're starting to lose our jurisdiction. It all starts with your justice, with your police, and everything in your court system, everything in-house. So to me, it's a big issue when it comes to jurisdiction.
Well, these guys are secondments, and with an individual that doesn't have the experience as a chief of police, he's there to assist. He doesn't make any decisions, he's there to assist. And he'll be gone in October.
Well,
it's a transition period between the new chief of police coming on board to assist with this, just like the RCMP secondment.
I'll tell you what happens is, between you and I, back when you had your Mohawk Council lawyer, he approached the community and said that 138 ends at the crossroads on Cornwall Island. Now that's always been Federal Indian Reserve, the corridor. But he gave the police the jurisdiction to go ahead and police it as OPP, or the Mohawk police had jurisdiction because it was considered, you must have heard of that it was 138 and ran down the corridor on the island and ended at the crossroads. You remember that?
Yeah.
And there was a memorandum set out. And that, you know, that was all BS. But yet they were treating it like a provincial road.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problems we have here. You know, jurisdiction is big. If we start losing jurisdiction, we're going to lose a reserve.
That meeting was held last year to reaffirm that after the new bridge opened, that your jurisdiction ends right here. You do not come onto the territory unless we ask you to come here.
And where does that start?
Buddy?
Start.
Start?
Yeah.
Ends at the end of the bridge, the last light.
Right at the end of the bridge, right?
That includes fire department, unless they're called in.
But you know as well as I do, they were treating that as a provincial.
Yeah.
They had provincial authority over that.
We've changed that, so.
I mean, we got to watch it, and as a community, we're kind of the watchdog. That's why we keep asking all these questions.
Right, that's fine. That's what these meetings are for. But it's our jurisdiction, and we make sure that it stays in that. And any new elections or new chiefs that come on board, they're informed the same way.
Yeah.
This is the jurisdiction of Mohawk Council.
I have one more question, and maybe if nobody else has a question. I have one more question that really been bugging me. Last week, I seen an article in the paper with Jody Wilson-Raybould and Justin Trudeau shaking hands. They're all giving each other a hug with AFN's Perry Bellegarde. They're all dancing over there to get rid of the Indian Act. They're saying within 10 years they want to get rid of it. They're going to eliminate all band councils They're going to give more direction in traditional governments having the power or leadership. And I don't know what about funding, I don't know what they're going to do about all that. So my thought was, if they want to eliminate that, and a lot of people are getting on board with it, what do we replace it with? You know, and one concern I have, it's easy to talk about eliminating the Indian Act at this time, but where's your protection? Because the Indian Act does outline some parts of 35 of the Constitution Act, 9124, Indians and land reserved for Indians, the United Nations Declaration, the Royal Proclamation, the BNA Act, British North America Act, is all embedded in that.
Yeah.
So when you eliminate the Indian Act, you've got to watch that we don't lose protection. Because that's what they're after. They're out to dissolve reservations. They want to eliminate. They've been doing this. Elliott Trudeau, Justin's father in 1969, the White Paper. They wanted to get rid of the reservation and start. It was stopped, but they want to proceed and try it again. So, you know, I don't know. I just want to know what you think. What are we going to replace it with? And do you think it's time to get rid of the Indian Act?
Well, this is an ongoing issue. This is nothing new. Like you said, 1969. Here, Elliott Trudeau was in charge at the time, and conversations started in that direction.
But they're really pushing it now.
Well, they can push all they want. It's just, you got to get the First Nations to agree. Him and Perry Belbart can hug all they want. But they need to consult with all First Nations.
You see, that's what happened. That's why Idle No More came about.
Yes.
Idle No More came about because of it.
I agree. I totally agree. That it's,
No, I want to respond to his question, because if you attend some of the nation-building self-government meetings, that's exactly what is being talked about, like replacing the Indian Act, but keeping parts of it, like the financial responsibility of the Indian Act to keep that part of it, so that the funding remains.
I don't trust the government, one way or another. When you get self-government, you have to be self-governed.
But you shouldn't attend some of the meetings.
Oh, I attended a lot of them. All the way back.
With Peter Garrett.
I went back to I'll go there.
Yeah.
you guys can hold your own meeting. Is there other business on the floor?
I have one more.
Yes.
I want to talk about housing.
What?
Housing.
Housing.
Because I emailed you, Daryl, and I've also been in touch with Benny and with Tina. And I've moved from 3rd on the list to 5th. How does that happen? I said, do you have a policy? I said, no. I said, so you just do whatever the hell you want. That's not right. And I said, how did I go from 3rd to 5th? She said, well, somebody responded and gave them an update on their file. And I said, well, I want to update my file from 5 years ago. I'm going to give you a new phone number. Put me first on the list. So I'm a little bit upset with what transpired just today.
Okay, we'll obviously address that concern, action item from the general meeting.
Yep.
And report at next. I don't think it should be something that'd be in a public session, but if you want to contact you directly.
Well, I was in touch with Benny today, so he's he wants
and
to
the
show me a
process
place
of calling
down
it
in
for
Snow.
yeah.
But I told him it's all about location. I don't want to be on Chapman Road, you know? I don't want to be in Boudreaux.
Right.
You know?
That'll be addressed in the agenda item, action item.
All right.
Further concerns from the community? Going once? Twice? Thank you for coming. We have one MCR. Mohawk Council of Akwesasne accepts and approves the general meeting minutes dated July 20th, 2017. Need a mover? Bonnie? And Troy. Discussion? Question's been called, all in favor? Any against? All carried. Oh. We have one last item. It's the announcements for district meetings. District meetings will start at 6 p.m. Gonoga will be September 11th at the Gonoga Community Center. Jisnai will be September 13th at Jisnai Recreation Center. And Ganadago is September 18th at Ganadago Recreation Commission. And the next general meeting is scheduled for the 28th in Jisnaina at the Rec, but it could move up 1 week earlier because Ambi has an open house on that date, the 28th. So that information will be put back out to the community as it occurs. Further discussion? Okay.
Hey Steve, is it possible to get that list somehow? How can we get it out there? I'd like to see that Coral Island on that list.
Oh, the natural gas?
The natural gas, yeah.
I can send you the presentation. Yeah. I can send you the presentation.
Oh, can you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, probably not just me, a lot of people.
Okay. So the agenda is I need a move to adjourn. Dooley and Darrell. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Thank you.